Welcome to episode 58 of The Luxury Travel Marketer. I'm your podcast host David, co-owner and co-founder of Jadewolf Marketing. Today's episode is all going to be about message mining for luxury copywriting, so it's a copywriting focused episode again. Before we talk about message mining, if you want to support the podcast show itself, go to patreon.com/Jadewolf, become a supporter there. There's free tiers available. You're going to be able to influence the type of content we cover here, the type of guests we invite. It's a great way to support the show if you cannot become a client of the agency itself. Make sure to check out our partner, superyachtradio.com. They have great shows about superyachting, maritime, anything related to having fun and enjoying your life on the oceans, really. Our podcast is being aired on there as well 4 times a week. So make sure to check those guys out. If you are a business in luxury travel, aviation, hospitality, yachting, with a marketing project that you need help with, where you need to reach high net worth individuals, go to jadewolfmarketing.com, navigate to a resource section, check out our podcasts, our blog, or downloads there that we have available. And if you have a concrete problem you need solving, fill out our callback request form. We're going to get back to you via email, chat, LinkedIn, phone, wherever we can reach you to kind of like talk about your issue and your challenges in your business and try to come up with a way we can work together and help you. So with that all being said and out of the way, let's dive into message mining. So message mining is essentially a copywriting technique that tries to take a little bit out of the gut feeling, intuitive take a little bit, the randomness out of the intuitiveness or the gut feeling style of copywriting, right? A lot of writers, copywriters, write just, because, they have a certain style or they consume a lot of prose, or they have certain copywriters that they look up to, or they worked for certain brands in the past and they have kind of like absorbed that tone of voice and made it their own. So obviously that not necessarily is bad, right? So it can be great to have a copywriter with a distinct voice work on your brand and come up with fresh new takes and add his kind of like language and vocabulary to your brand. But if you want to have a little bit more of a data-driven approach, and especially if you've been in business for a while, message mining can be a great way to enhance your luxury copywriting. So what is message mining? Message mining is essentially a process where you look at customer feedback, and that can be customer feedback in all types, shapes, and forms. And you try to distill positive aspects about your service or your product from this type of feedback, and then kind of like this, grind that down and distill it into USPs and other things you can use for your luxury copywriting in the future, right? So you're basically trying to learn about what really excited your customers, what made them passionate about your brand in the first place, and why they're still doing business with you. And then you try to use that in your copywriting to attract new customers that might have looking for similar experiences, right? So it's basically, a great way for businesses who already have a customer base, who have already done some business in the past, who have already fulfilled a nice luxury travel package, or gave a family a great experience through their yacht charter, or have a portfolio of great vacation rentals and have been had regulars that coming back to the same properties year after year. So from these kind of people, you can extract great feedback for your copywriting, and that's basically the process of message mining. Now, obviously, there's a huge caveat with what kind of customer feedback you should take into account in luxury marketing, and that goes for travel as well. In general, there's a little bit of a danger zone there when you're looking at reviews, right? When people think about online reviews, they're usually thinking about Google business reviews. They're thinking about in travel like Yelp, these kind of sites, OTAs, Booking.com if it's the hospitality industry, what people write about hotels. And sometimes looking at these sources can be a great way to kind of like extract positives, but you got to be careful, because sometimes it's people who never did business with you, competitors who are using fake accounts to damage your reputation. And in general, you should be careful where you open up your company to your reviews in general, like on your Facebook page, on your social media. Traditionally, luxury brands in fashion, retail, and jewelry, for example, have mostly suppressed dialogue on social media, suppressed reviews, and kind of like switched comments off and things like that, because they fear that their authority in terms of taste making and top-down kind of like dictation of what is avant-garde and what is cool and what is fashionable could be threatened by engaging with open dialogue with their customer base, right? And a lot of luxury brands have this approach, like we're the best, we're these legends in the market, we have the heritage, we know what we're doing. So if you want to work with us, obviously you don't need a positive review or a testimonial, you should just trust us, right? And while that philosophy is true to a certain degree, there's other ways, you shouldn't necessarily be afraid of reviews, because if you're the best in class, then you probably should have a large majority of your reviews should be positive. And you can still look at those in some cases to extract feedback, right? Like major hospitality enterprise companies will have properties that are listed on OTAs just because, they kind of like want to get that OTA revenue, even though in our opinion, if they would invest more in direct, they could probably like get a better return, but that's another topic. So there you will have, your 9.8s on like booking.com, and then you can look at some of these reviews. And if it's a verified booking, then okay, this person was really happy about the check-in, the room, a feature of the room, the bar, the restaurant experience, maybe a concierge or butler service really like hit the home run for that person. So it can be a multitude of things. Basically, the greatest source is directly surveying, asking your customers, right? If you have a personal relationship, your sales reps, your brokers, for example, in aviation or yachting, they can just start a dialogue. Like, what do you enjoy about our brand? Like, obviously you should come prepared, not just what do you like, but like just ask certain like 5 to 10 questions, that are vetted before with you in marketing and that can produce results which are kind of like useful for your copywriting, right? And how to design these surveys, how to design these interview questions, that's an art form in marketing research and market research by itself. I'm not going to dive too much into it. There's some principles of empirical science that you can use to minimize, like randomness, similar if you would do like an experiment. But basically these questions should just, figure out like what did you like, what really fascinated you. If you could name one thing that would make you recommend our brand, what would it be? Questions like that, right? It's not rocket science if you just do it on that level. And then getting this kind of information from your patrons, from your customers that you have a good relationship with, that love your brand. And then, combining that with what type of customers are these people, right? What is their profile? How did they found the business? So now you're message mining, right? You getting into it. You're kind of trying to figure out, okay, what kind of language was that millionaire talking about when he described the experience of making a charter trip through the Mediterranean with your biggest and most magnificent super yacht that you have in your fleet. What kind of imagery did he describe? Like when he talked about his trip, when he talked about the catering, etc., the crew, what were some adjectives that the person used? What were some images that he conjured? That are some important things that you should write down. You should make notes. Maybe have recordings if your customers are okay of these little interviews. And we know in luxury people are time strapped. They worry about their privacy. So you need to make sure that if you're doing these in-person interviews and personal surveys of your most high-profile, high-net-worth customers, that you're telling them that you're not going to identify them, you're not going to spill the beans, you're not going to use their data information. It's just so you can learn about what they like, so you can give them more of what they like, and you can make other people give other people the option to have a beautiful experience as well, right? So that's basically message mining in a nutshell. The danger with reviews, I talked about that. Who is it for? Well, companies who've been a couple of years in business, who have at least a certain customer base that they have a good relationship to, that they can ask. It's obviously better to, it depends on what kind of business you are. If you're a large luxury hotel, 5-star hotel, you might want to do an online survey towards 100 bookings that were first-time bookers in your hotel, so they have a fresh perspective. But you might then also combine that with maybe in-person interviews with people who are part of your loyalty or VIP program, and are renting your most expensive suite every time around Christmas, every year. So you want to layer these data sets, this type of research over each other, and then start to extract adjectives, mental images, features, benefits, stuff you can then reincorporate into your copywriting, into your briefs for your copywriters, right? So creating these questions maybe with your copywriter or your content marketing team in conjunction might be a very good idea, right? So who is this not for, right? People, brands that are starting completely fresh, they will have to use different type of copywriting, marketing strategy, tactics to really define what makes their brand luxury and what makes, what justifies, their pricing, their brand equity, their margin. And they really will have to drill down into the product, into the service itself, into what the market wants, and try to match that up to come up with a unique selling proposition, how is it called in copywriting and marketing, that really, talks about why your champagne is the most exquisite and, the most sought after in the world, or why this new product is it provides just a level of experience, of service that is unknown before, or why the materials are great and, why there's so much love and passion in the finish of the furniture in the suite, whatever it might be, right? But you will have to basically look more at your product and service itself, and maybe at the people who are fulfilling it, than actually what customers have been saying, if that makes sense, right? So what are some basic applications once you have that research, once you have done some message mining, once you have looked into your previous business engagements? Well, obviously you can tweak any type of sales or ad copy that you have. Sales copy on the website, describing your rooms, your suites, your food and beverage offerings, your MICE offerings, making sure that, your travel packages, your landing pages, your email templates. You can even go a little bit further and work maybe on sales scripts, right, with people who are talking what kind of selling points they would have in their pitch when they're following up with a lead. On the ad copy level, you can just, try to work that into the layout of your advertising. If you have advertorials where you're describing basically in depth one of your travel packages, if you're a luxury travel provider, with a magazine, you can kind of weave in the images that you found out, weave in those unique selling points, weave in your own personal version of the luxury dream into that advertorial, and instead of just listing out things in a really cold and ineffective manner. So those are some possible applications in copywriting. And really getting a great USP is not, you can look at USPs as something, that in luxury definitely, that should be not attached to price or value. That's important. USPs usually are often attached to economic benefits, or cost benefits, in the sense of opportunity costs, or it can be something, the best value for your buck or something like that. It shouldn't be like that in luxury. The USP should focus on what I call the luxury dream. It should focus on emotions. It should focus on, the uniqueness of it, the rarity of it, the exquisiteness, and it should really be a little bit otherworldly. It should have a certain layer of ephemeral, aspirational consumption, right? If you book this room, if you charter our yacht, if you commit a shipbuilding project with us, if you buy this Gulfstream, or the Salt jet or whatever it might be, it will transform you. It will transform your life, but also who you are. It will enhance who you are in the eyes of your peers. It will take you to the next level in success when it comes to success in life. So these kind of USPs should be then broken down. You should have a general USP for your brand overall, but then maybe USPs on the individual product, service, or package level, right? Why is your 3-star Michelin restaurant the best in Hong Kong, right? Why is your bar one of the best stocked ones with the best rare Japanese whiskeys in all of London, right? Those are kind of things that you need to break down and use maybe message mining to come up with things that resonate really well, or at least, mine them from your products and services themselves. And always, I mentioned this before, once you have a bunch of USPs, you need to kind of filter out the best ones and use those. So there's some prioritization work that you should do at the end of this whole message mining project. Doesn't matter if you do it from an existing customer and sales intelligence, or if you do it on a completely fresh brand or fresh offering. But you should always think about the luxury dream, right? Luxury is something that has to be beyond the physical world, if I would say it like that. It has to not only physical effect or superficial effect on the outside, but you have to at least suggest to the consumer that it will have an effect on their psyche, their well-being, their internal world, their perception, their emotional world, and will grant them something, access to like some energy source, something intangible that they can only tap into if they become your customer. I hope this might sound to some people who don't really connected to the world of luxury very, very weird and fluffy, but I'm just trying to break down a concept, that in relative simple adjectives and metaphors that you need to express in your copywriting if you want to be a great luxury marketer. And message mining, USPs, prioritization, and looking at your product and services, matching them up to what positive things people have to say about you. Those are great ways to go about it, right? So that is basically it for today's episode in terms of message mining. A very short episode, since a bunch of our last episodes were quite long, and we always like to switch it up. Some week we will have 20, 30 minutes. Other weeks we'll have 45 minutes of me just ranting about something, and then we might have some guests on again. We're not sure about the guests, if we're going to have any more guests this year, since we're already in Q4, and setting up these guest interviews usually takes time. But internally, we're working on a list of potential businesses, brands, decision makers, influencers that we want to reach out to in digital marketing, in direct marketing, data-driven marketing, and luxury travel, of course. And latest starting in the new year, you will have some cool guests that you can enjoy on the podcast again. Like I said before, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Jadewolf. Become one of our Patreon supporters. We appreciate all the help. We are a small specialized agency who, we do content marketing on the level where very few, even big agencies do it in the world. We try to go above and beyond when it comes to kind of providing info and transparency to our clients, and as a whole to the industry itself by having this podcast. This is an important thing for us, and if you can support us, if you enjoy the podcast show, that would be great. Superyachtradio.com is one of our newest partners. Check these guys out. Maeve and Dave are a wonderful couple. They run their radio channel with a lot of love, a lot of cool topics that they cover there, our podcast included. Check them out. And if you're looking at doing some brand marketing in the super yachting space, they offer advertising opportunities as well. So just shoot them an email and get the ball rolling if you want to do a little bit of audio marketing. It's a very cool thing if you want to reach that specific audience. So, and again, if you're a business in luxury travel, hospitality, aviation, yachting, and you need digital marketing, you want to do something transformative, you want to get a return on your advertising spend, and you not necessarily want to spend everything on brand, but you also want to have some direct short and midterm returns, and maybe even some long-term scaling, go to jadewolfmarketing.com, check out our resource section, fill out our callback request form. We have some minimums we introduced in terms of annual marketing budget recently, because the podcast is getting more and more popular. We have so much content out there now that we're getting a lot of requests from lots of small businesses sometimes. So we had to write some disclaimers that we usually work with certain minimums. But don't be discouraged by that. If you fulfill these minimums, at least roughly, fill out the form. We're going to give you a call and we can chat about if we can help you with your project, okay? I hope you enjoyed this episode on message mining for luxury copywriting. Tune in next week again. We're going to be traveling to Milan We're gonna be leaving Stockholm for at least a couple of weeks to get some fresh air, so make sure to stay tuned for the next episode and take care.